Roger, operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, to give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Boardmen. Third graders are in the top headlines. Susan Wajner has a report published October 13th out of the Mediator explaining how Boardman third graders have worked their way into the top headlines because they took the time to create storylines. They conducted interviews, created artwork for comic strips, and they seeked out fun facts and conduct opinion polls. Now, the West Wisdom Project is published 5 times per year and seems to be helping young Boardman students hone in on their reporting, journalism, and other skills, thus getting the story into the top 8. Story number 1, big head. Story number 2, how many people entered the peace race? Sheen Barron has a report published October 13th explaining how 1,100 people ran for peace in the Youngstown peace race. Now, if you did not know, they've been running this race since 1975. The support and the promotion of peace throughout the Mahoning Valley. Well, this is what got the story in, and it also raises thousands of dollars for local charities. That's why story number 2 made it. Story number 3, the Alzheimer's fight. Chris McBride has a report published October 13th explaining how the annual walk to end Alzheimer's at the Watts Center, WATTS Center, raised about $75,000 towards the association's $82,000 goal. Now, Alzheimer's affects 236,200 people ages 65 and older. Now, the disease is the 7th leading cause of death in the state, claiming 4,953 lives in 2022, with a mortality rate of about 42%. Now, the article serves as an informative piece, drawing more awareness to Alzheimer's and the people in the fight to provide research, caregiving support, and a 24-hour caregiver helpline. That's why story number 3 made it. Story number 4, how ready are we for another winter? David Skolnick has a report published October 11th explaining how the street department is ready for winter, having added 10 snowplows to its fleet in the past 6 years, according to the report. Now, the report explains how the city has invested about $6 million into the street department and about $5 million for vehicles and equipment and $1 million for needed improvement to its building. Now, the article succeeds at informing the reader about what is taking place for winter prep when it comes to snow removal and snow vehicles, but shies away from salt. It doesn't really talk too much about salt and what they're doing to prevent ice. Now, on any other winter day, the preparation information is what got this story in, because on any other winter day, nobody knows what would happen. So that's why this report made it in, because it's telling you some of the preparation that's already taking place. Story number 4, big deal. Story number 5, Youngstown looks to another police investment. David Skolnick has a report published October 11th explaining how City Council looks to consider purchasing new police vehicles again after a rejection 4 months ago. Now, the report lays it out straight by informing the reader that the request is in 2 separate ordinances, with one to spend up to $335,000 for the 5 patrol cars and up to $205,000 for the 3 K9 officer vehicles, for a total of no more than $540,000. Now, the article then goes on further to explain the what, why, when, and where discussed at the meeting, while also talking about renovations at the former clerk of court space. Now, the article serves as an update for all new business and improvements that will be taking place at the police department. Now, on October 16th, it appears that the city changed course and voted to buy the cars and make the improvements. Story number 5, Big B. Story number 6. Mayoral race heats up in Youngstown. David Scolding has a report published October 16th explaining how Mayor Jamel Tito Brown touted his proven track record of leadership. He also touted the fact that crime has decreased in the city. The city's budget has been balanced, investments, and he also talked about the city's credit rating, how it improved. Now, Derek McDowell, on the other hand, cited business and residential morale as a reason why he's running, and he says that the city has failed to address this and how the city's mishaps have been a nuisance and poorly managed. Now, McDowell also talked about a higher level. He wants a higher level investment into the city. Now, he also talked about accountability. Brown is a Democrat in his 8th year as mayor of Youngstown. Derek McDowell is a business owner running as an independent and served as an activist, now seeking his first opportunity to be mayor of Youngstown. That's why story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week for you to keep you informed. Folks, if you don't get up this early, you can check out the show. I do upload to the website on Mondays. So if you don't get up this early, you can check out the show on the website. Story number 7. Officer down went down to Youngstown. Ed Runyon has a report published October 15th explaining how the Youngstown Police Department is overwhelmed after a local officer was shot Thursday on the south side. Now, the shooting took place at the 4000 block of Rush Boulevard. Now, what got the story in is the fact that an unidentified person died in the shootout. The entire situation caused lockdowns and sparked a huge area-wide disruption, thus getting the story to the top headlines. That's why story number 7 also made it to the top. Story number 8 in the top local headline and developing news story that made this week for you to keep you informed. Folks, if you do want to show some support, it does not take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program, or you can stop by the store at 5648 Mark Street in Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face in store. Story number 8, top story. Insight still in the healthcare business. Pat E. Litowitz has a report published October 15th confirming the reopening of Insight Hospital. This is after last week reports were saying that they failed. Now, the story out of Warren begins by stating that more than 200 days after it closed, it appears that the practice of caring for Warren and other surrounding communities is back in business. Now, this is after reports of them failing state regulations last week, as I said. Now, the story is definitely worth a read because the entire process shows a hospital winning a fight to stay open, thus getting the story to the top 8. That's why story number 8 made it to the top this week. Well, folks, are top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't you go near the media to be Brian West. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, we are in a different time frame. This week we're talking about the things that people do. And we are in a different day and age. Now, we have luxury now. And we have travel and accommodations. And nowadays, I'm always working. People get on me and say, Brian, you do too much work. You got to learn how to relax. Go out and have some fun. And that's what everybody likes to do, But there's a time and a place for everything. And nowadays, you will see people taking vacations at odd times. Every time something goes down, somebody is taking a vacation. You could be in the midst of a storm where the whole world is falling apart. Somebody will just get up and leave and go on vacation. No leadership on the job. I remember when I was talking to my mom one time, This was during the COVID craziness when people were having to go into nursing homes or the hospitals, and they would have to treat patients, and so I would say, Mom, where's the executives at? She would say, oh, they would all be on the golf course playing golf during the COVID. Or you have people having family occasions that may be needed to tend to. People may be grieving. No ministers around. They're all on vacation or somewhere. Or you could have somebody who could be physically and emotionally beat up inside, and they may just need somebody to talk to or hang up on. Nobody answers the phone. Folks, I think we have become, now this is a solution to the problem, we have become a civilization that just doesn't want to deal with other people's problems anymore. We don't. There are some people out here who are literally hitting rock bottom. Some people who are used to having money, or some people who maybe have too much money and they don't want to lose it, so they don't want to take the time. No, they don't. And that could become a problem. And I'm not going to lie, being a business owner, doing this for as long as I have, I've been hung up on, threatened, hollered at, screamed at, but I've kept my phone on me 24 hours a day. Sometimes I will be editing videos in the middle of the night. I'll get a text message and I'll say, well, I'm editing a video, or I'll be doing something by myself, or doing something I have no business doing sometimes, but I'll still answer the phone. Hold on a second. Let me get off the toilet. But that's what we have to do to keep the circulation flowing. And I'll never forget the last point I want to make. The reason why I bring this topic up, a long time ago, there was I was doing some publishing, and one of the poets was having an addiction problem. And he just couldn't find any help. I kept asking him, I said, do your friends answer the phone when you call them? No. I always ask people, do your family members want to deal? No, they don't want to deal with it because I'm toxic. That's what they would say. So today's world, we have to figure out, how do we deal with the toxification and the fact that everybody just wants to worry about themselves. Nobody really has time for other people's problems. Things that we have to worry about, folks. Let's get to these top stories, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1. The quiet news that keeps hitting the entertainment industry. Talking about this topic, dealing with other people's problems. Folks, Yahoo News has a report explaining how Broadway is facing a shutdown as musicians vote to authorize a strike. Now, this would be their first strike since 2023. Now, the article goes all in on the contracts and decisions that have led up to the strike. Now, there is a lot at stake in this entertainment report and could be critical and yet another hit to the American entertainment business and industry. The musicians have been working without a contract on Broadway since August 31st of 2025. Now, it's not all bad news, though, because the report goes on further to explain how Ragtime, Punch, and Little Bear Ridge Road would go on as usual because of their business nonprofit structure. Now, actors, stage managers, and other Broadway entities were all listed on to be striking in this report. Now, attendance, ratings, lawsuits, and the current state of the entertainment business is what has stories like these trending. That's why story number 1 made it this way. Story number 2, the car business is back in top headlines. CNBC has a report stating that new vehicle prices have topped $50,000 while auto loan delinquencies have been rising. Now, the report explains how defaults and repossessions have also increased. Now, what got this story in is because the report talks about a K-shaped economy where the wealthy keep seeing gains while those with lower incomes are struggling. Now, the story goes on to state that consumers who can afford a new vehicle are on a buying spree while those on a budget remain on the sidelines. Now, the Consumer Federation of America says that the U.S. auto financing business is at a breaking point, while with Americans owing over 1.66 trillion in auto loan debt, folks. This story is still trending. That's why story number 2 made it. Story number 3: the government slashing is real, folks. The federal government is really under attack. Was basically the point that these articles, these headlines are trying to make, and there's something pointing towards each one, because Reuters has a headline stating that 4,108 workers have been fired, federal workers, since the shutdown began. CNN has a headline, a report stating that the Trump administration quietly canceled the nation's largest solar project. NPR has a headline stating that Trump has slashed the mental health agency. Folks, there is some serious stuff going on in this story. That's what these stories are still developing. These are top headlines to keep an eye on. Story number 3, big. Story number 4: measles remains a top concern. NPR has a report explaining how in South Carolina more than 130 school kids are under quarantine after being exposed to measles. So far, 1,596 cases this year have been confirmed, according to the Center for Disease Control. Now, this is the highest annual number in more than 3 decades, folks. Let's get into the story to the top 8. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Well, folks, our top 4 international headlines developing news stories that made it this week. I'll be right back. Top 4. So don't you go anywhere in the media to be Brad West. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, this week we're talking about the things that people do and human behavior in this now day and age. Now, we all are not perfect, but things have changed in some sense. If you haven't noticed, America has traditions. Last week I was talking about, it was a report made about how churches and Christianity, the memberships and the amount of churches that are closing, and the fact that normal traditions are no more, and not no more, but not like they used to be. Like there's not a lot of things that occur at funerals or the normal traditions like military traditions and understanding basic things. Now, nobody is perfect. Now, we all have flaws, but there are things happening now where people just have become, I guess they've just become relaxed and they don't have to do much. That's like you call up your friend Steven. Conversations these days are something like this. Hey, Steven, how's it going? Oh, what's up, dog? It's going down, man. We gonna do it. What are we gonna do, Steven? Oh, we gonna do it big, bro. We gonna do this big. What are we gonna do big? Oh, we gonna make it happen. You know what I'm saying, dog? And I'm like, yo, I know what you're saying, man. We're gonna do it big. You got this on the speed dial, bro, cause I gotta go check out some of my women. And you be like, Steven, there's been a death in the family. We can't do it big. Yo, man, I don't do funerals, bro. Oh my God, Steven, we gotta say goodbye. The Reverend needs his money, Steven. Oh. How do you have a conversation with Steven? Steven, have you talked to your accountant lately? Oh no, bro. This is what we see. Times have changed. Traditions are no longer the same. The meeting with the accountant is no longer the same. The meeting with social workers are no longer the same. Folks, even the meeting with public officials has changed. And we don't know how it happened. Some people claim they do, but it is different. I thought about making a song this week about it, because music seems to keep me on the right track, because the more I try to study and stay on the right course, I learn something new every day. So I'm still reading and still learning. But I'm learning that things have changed. I don't know if they've changed for the better or for the worse. So here's my song. I'm going to give it to you. It's called Love Thy Brother Even When You Feel Above Thy Brother. Here it goes. When you're down and you feel a little arrogant, love thy brother. When you're down, ooh, yeah, and you feel you don't know, ask a question and love thy brother. And it's okay to attend a service even when you don't believe. But once that reverend starts telling you who to vote for and telling you how to think, you got to get the hell out of there and go read the word for yourself. But read the word. Make sure you read it to its entirety, or you will be taken advantage of. Folks, let's waste no time, folks. Love Thy Brother. My CD is coming out soon. Or it's be on YouTube and streaming. Let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 5. China and U.S. relations with the world. Speaking of love thy brother, Fortune has a report stating that China is moving on from America in what could be a gamble that Trump maybe got wrong. That's basically what the report says. Now, the report explains how China is now doing business with the rest of the world while America scrambles to regroup. Now, the report really lays out the numbers, because Chinese shipments to the U.S. plunged 27% in September. But overall, exports rose 8.3%. Now, the report goes on to say that the World Bank now expects China's economy to grow 4.8% in 2025. Now, while it downgraded U.S. growth to 1.4%, this is all while Trump threatens 100% tariffs. Now, the article ends by explaining how there is room for compromise, with Trump left with some difficult decisions to make. Folks, this story is still developing. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6, the shutdown and the economy still in top headlines. Reuters has a report published, stating that the U.S. Treasury chief says that the government shutdown is hitting the U.S. economy. The report was published October 13th. Now, economic data and farming were all mentioned in reports, thus getting the story into the top 8. Almost made it to the top 2 this week. Big. Story number 7 of the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories made this week for you to keep you informed. Folks, if you don't get up this early, I do upload the show to the website on Mondays. You check out the show on the website. Story number 7, the U.S. still has a mass shooting problem. This story almost made it to the top. It was a tough decision to make, but it almost made it to the top, because Axios has a headline stating that the U.S. is approaching 340 mass shootings this year after a deadly weekend. The report states that 12 people were killed and at least 40 people injured at a high school alumni event on the South Carolina coast. Now, America's obsession with mass shootings and gun abuse is what has stories like these remaining in top headlines. That's why story number 7 also made it to the top this week. Big headline. Story number 8 and the top international headline and developing news story that made this week for you to keep you informed. Folks, if you do want to show some support, it does not take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Mark Street in Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face. folks, I have to do a little bit of everything. I have to shape shift, have two faces, one faces, and I try to stay in the middle. And sometimes I do tend to lean towards the right. Sometimes I tend to lean toward the left. But my goal for this program is to stay in the middle so I can see things from both angles and try my best to mediate and stay in between so I don't take too many sides, and hopefully let you choose for yourself. So if you do want to show the social support and you do like this program, I try my best to make sure everything is fact checked and keep you informed. Story number 8, CBS News. Well, first I'll get to the headline. Story number 8, out of a job, and then I'll get to the news story. CBS News has a report stating that a growing number of Americans are facing the prospect of long-term unemployment. Now, the report states with it starts with a testimony. That's what it starts with, and it states that it basically pointing the job numbers out, but really it really succeeds at giving the reader a sense that something has to be done when it comes to the job market. Now, the report goes on to state that nearly 2 million people in the U.S. face long-term unemployment. Now, this is the highest number since 2022. Now, in September alone, the number of U.S. workers filing for unemployment benefits hit about 263,000. Now, this is the highest mark since October of 2021. Labor economist Teresa Gilducci, she believes that the job market is not, she said, Gilducci, I will make sure I get that right. Teresa Gilducci, she believes that the job market is not going to improve anytime soon, and that's the main talking point why the story got to the top and outweighed the gun story. Now, the article ends by stating that Americans are basically going to have to settle for less and work jobs that they usually wouldn't, folks. This story is eye-opening, and it shows that even people with high levels, like even doctors, may be having to, some people may be out of a job because hospitals may be closing, so they may have to lower their standard. A lot of people, even people leaving government, folks. Story number 8, that's why I made it to the top this week. Go focus on our top 8 local and international headlines developing news stories that I made it this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something I do with the research. As usual, I thank all the news outlets, journalists, people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the mediator, the man in the middle, navigating your news stories just to keep people informed, folks. If you do want to show some support, it does not take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Or you can stop by the store at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in this week. I'll be back next week. Lord, we'll look over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed. Thank you for tuning in to the Mediator this week. Me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.